Hello guys, and welcome once again to another retro review. This is the only series here on YouTube where I review all of the Coliseum home videos. The purpose of this series is to help you guys figure out if this videotape is worth getting or not. Now, of course, none of these videotapes are out in stores anymore. The best way you can find these Coliseum home videos is through eBay and Amazon, among many other places. Well, this voting was really close. The difference between first and third were 2 votes. The difference between first and second was 1 vote. It was a very close vote, but today's review is the best of the WWF Volume 11. This videotape is hosted by Mean Gene Okerlund, and we don't wait. We just get right into it after he gives us a couple, what's going to be on some of the video, or on this videotape. So we start off with tag team action as we have the Can-Am connection of Rick Martel and Tom Zink going up against Brutus Beefcake and Greg Valentine. Now, I do want to get this part out before I talk about the match. During this match, Luscious Johnny Valiant gets on the microphone talking to Gorilla Monsoon and Mean Gene Okerlund. And in classic Johnny Valiant acting, he's like, "Zing, what kind of a last name is that? Is that a violent me?" It's just Johnny Valiant. But this was a good match. This was a good match to start this videotape. And one thing that you're going to notice throughout this videotape is there's really no edits on the matches. This does start a little bit in the action, but not too far ahead. And this is a really good match, and it tells 2 stories in this. The first story is Beefcake and Valentine working on Martel. That's the first story that they tell, and it's a good story. Because, at first, Can-Am Connection, they have control of the match, and they're doing really good, and then Beefcake and Valentine gain control, and they're really on top of Martel for a while. Then you get the second half of the story, and it is them being on top of Tom Zink and how they work on them. And it's a really good story, and there are times where they prevent Zink from getting the tag from Martel. Valiant gets involved a little bit. And then we get the end of the match. And this was a really good ending because the referee, the last 5 minutes or so of this match is having a hell of a time trying to keep both men out of the ring that are not legal. So Martel gets sent to the floor. He gets sent out to the arena floor. Beefcake is distracting the referee. Valiant hits Martel, knocks him down for a little bit longer. Valentine locks in the figure 4 leg lock on the Tom Zink in the middle of the ring. Now, the referee does not see this. So Martel somehow finds a way to muster up the energy to do a slingshot over the top rope, splash onto Valentine, is able to unlock Tom Zink's legs. Referee doesn't notice who's the legal or who's got the pin. 1, 2, 3. Can-Am Connection win this match. Martel steals a fall on the Dream Team. Then we go to our next match, which was called the Jungle Fight. Kamala against George the Animal Steele. While this is not the most scientific match in the world, this was an entertaining match. Because you got these 2 unique characters, Kamala and George Steele. George Steele's a little confused by the face paint of Kamala. Steps on his feet, each foot once. Kim Chi tries to get involved. The Grand Wizard tries to get involved. The end of the match, Kamala grabs the horn from the Grand Wizard, strikes George Steele with it behind the back. He hits a running splash, and then he goes to the top rope and hits a big splash. 1, 2, 3. Kamala beats George Steele. And the way it was ending, it was so bad that they had to get a stretcher for George Steele to take him out, which is very, very rare to see or even think, talking about George the Animal Steele. And then we go into the meat of this videotape, because pretty much the meat of this videotape is all about Roddy Piper. So we start with a live Piper's Pit in Madison Square Garden, and this is when Piper is a face at this point. So after he declares that the boss is back, he says how he's not used to getting cheered. He's used to getting booed a lot. And he says, even though I'm not running for president, I'm still the same nasty old son of a bitch that you know and hate and love. So then this is the part where the editing does come in, because we skip into this because Bobby Heenan and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff are in the ring. They are the guests for this Piper's Pit. And basically, Piper lays out a challenge for Orndorff and Heenan. You guys pick a tag team partner. I'll pick a tag team partner for next month. So Heenan and Orndorff have a discussion, and Bobby Heenan announces that Orndorff's partner is going to be the King, Harley Race. So Piper thinks about it, and then he sees a fan in the front row. He calls him up. Well, it's Vlad the Superfan, and if you don't know who he is, he's the guy that used to be at the Madison Square Garden events. He had the glasses, skinny guy, big fan, really is. I've never met him. I would love to meet him. Just pick his brain a little bit. So he calls him up, and he asks him who should his tag team partner be, and Vlad says Hulk Hogan, and the crowd goes crazy. And that's the tag team match. And we go to it, pretty much the ultimate odd couple tag team. Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper against Harley Race and Paul Orndorff. This is a fun match. This is a fun match because, Hogan and Piper, they had that feud forever, and they're a tag team. And I love how the first couple minutes of this match, every time they tag, they give each other this cold stare before they make a tag. Like, Piper will, put his hand out, he'll give a stare at Hogan, and Hogan will make the tag. And then, Hogan will want to tag Piper. He'll take a stare at Piper, and then he'll tag Piper. Race and Orndorff do get an advantage on Piper for a little bit, with some double teaming, even a little bit of triple teaming from Bobby Heenan involved. Then Piper eventually makes the tag to Hogan. Hogan comes in, cleans house, hits a big boot, gets a 2 count because Orndorff comes in, Piper comes in, all 4 are in. Hogan goes out to the floor. Race holds Piper. Orndorff is going to hit Piper with his elbow pad, but he moves out of the way, knocks out Race, and Piper pushes Orndorff down. Piper covers Race. 1, 2, 3. Piper and Hogan win the match. And everybody is just standing in the ring. Hogan's standing in the ring. Orndorff is standing in the ring. Race is standing in the ring. And Piper's on the apron. And he gives, the salute. And he leaves. And then Race and Orndorff do a double team onto Hogan. But Hogan, being Hogan, hulks up and knocks both men down. It was a weird match, but it was really, really fun. Then we go to a 6-man tag team elimination match. And this is probably the best match in the whole tape. Roddy Piper, the Junkyard Dog, and Ricky Steamboat against Randy Savage, Harley Race, and Adrian Adonis. Basically, you guys know the rules of a 6-man or any elimination match. So I don't really have to go into it. This is a wild fight. This is a wild match, but it is so much fun. And Slick is there for commentary, and I want to point that out because there are a couple times where he and Gorilla Monsoon get into it, and there's one part where Slick says something, about going after, I think it was Piper or Junkyard Dog, and Gorilla's like, oh, you would go after him, and Slick's like, oh no, I'm a church-going member, I wouldn't do anything like that. And it's just really funny, and Slick calls Junkyard Dog illiterate. It's just really, the commentary is really good in this match. So, let's get to the eliminations here. At one point, all 6 men fight onto the floor, but Adonis and the Junkyard Dog were the legal guys in the ring at the time. So Adonis and the Junkyard Dog both got counted out. So it goes to a 2-on-2. Then we have Race and Savage against Piper and Steamboat. And it's really good action here. And the deciding fall in that one, Steamboat gets a small package on the Race. The referee is distracted by Piper. Savage goes into the ring, pushes Race over onto Steamboat. So Race has the small package. Referee goes to him 1, 2, 3. Steamboat is eliminated from the match, and it's Piper against Race and Savage, and this Madison Square Garden crowd is just going absolutely bananas. They know that, Piper's in a 2-on-1 situation. So Piper fights off both men for a little while. Savage tries a move on Piper, but accidentally knocks down Harley Race. Piper gets on top of Race, 1, 2, 3. Race is eliminated, so it's down to Savage and Piper. And this is a really good ending to the match because, Savage and Piper are, Savage is backing off of Piper. And Savage spits in the face of Piper. And Piper is like, you no good son of a bitch. And he chases Savage around the ring and gets him. Savage tries to offer a handshake, and Piper doesn't really take it. And then the end of the match. The end of this match is really good. Both men accidentally knock each other out. Piper is in the ring. Savage gets knocked out of the ring. So Piper, who still has a little bit of energy left, looks over to see how Savage is doing. He peeks up and then he lays down, pretends to lay down that he's out. So Savage doesn't know this. Savage goes to the top rope. He tries for the elbow drop. Piper moves out of the way. Savage misses. Piper rolls him up in a small package. 1, 2, 3. Piper wins and is the sole survivor. Of this wild but great 6-man tag team elimination match. Then they play the clip from Saturday night's main event where Mean Gene is interviewing Piper saying that, he's going off to Hollywood, he's retiring. And then they played the video package that they had for Piper. Now, in the original package, they play Frank Sinatra's My Way. Fitting tribute, I would think, to Piper. For the legal purposes of using any song, Coliseum Home Video uses their exit song for this Roddy Piper video tribute. So, you basically, for the most part, get all of that song. But that is what they use to play as the video tribute to Roddy Piper. Now we go into midget tag team action, where Little Tokyo and Lord Littlebrook face the Karate Kid and Pepe Gomez. Pepe Gomez, with all due respect to him, looks like a smaller version of Hector Guerrero without the Lasertron mask on. Because Pepe Gomez has, like a shirt and pants, and he's got, drawn on, the bullets around his chest. And you would think, because the outfit is gray, and Pepe Gomez looks like the smaller version of Hector Guerrero. This is a fun match. you know, I mean, it's the midgets, so obviously you're going to have a fun match with those four. And in the end, Karate Kid and Pepe Gomez get the win. They actually pinned both Little Tokyo and Lord Littlebrook. After Littlebrook had fallen on top of Tokyo, Kid goes on top, Gomez goes on top. Karate Kid and Pepe Gomez get the win. And then we get to our final two matches, which is in a way a story here. We start off with Hillbilly Jim against the Magnificent Muraco, Don Muraco. Now, Muraco is out at this time dressing up like Piper, the Shirk, the Kilt, and, you know, he's teasing the fans like he's going to take it off, you know, take the kilt off, but he's not. Hillbilly Jim messes around with him, and they have their match. It's a decent match. The end of the match, Hillbilly Jim has Muraco in a bear hug. Mr. Fuji comes in the ring, attacks Hillbilly Jim with his cane, which causes for the disqualification. And then Mr. Fuji goes after the bib overalls of Hillbilly Jim, trying to disrobe him, which is embarrassing for Hillbilly Jim. So we cut back to later in that night where Hillbilly Jim, you know, addresses the crowd. He apologizes for what happened and how it was embarrassing, and how he would like to get Mr. Fuji, I almost said Mr. Muraco, Mr. Fuji in the ring next month in a tuxedo match. And Hillbilly Jim throws the bib overalls that were torn in the crowd. So it's like the only time you ever see Hillbilly Jim in his underwear or his tights, which is very interesting. And then we go to the final match, Hillbilly Jim and Mr. Fuji in a tuxedo match. Traditional rules of a tuxedo match. You guys know what it is by now. Hillbilly Jim is in a white tuxedo. Mr. Fuji's in his usual black tuxedo outfit. You know, it's a tuxedo match. It's an unusual match. It's a fun match. Not gonna say it's the greatest in the world, but it was a fun match. And it ends with Hillbilly Jim getting Mr. Fuji pretty much his clothes taken off except his underwear, and it looks like there are hearts or roses on the boxers of Mr. Fuji, and Hillbilly Jim wins the tuxedo match. And that is the best of the WWF Volume 11. So what did I think of this videotape? Very entertaining. This is a very, very good video. Probably one of the best in the best of the WWF series. Because one thing, like I said, there's really no editing in any of the matches. Not one. So you get to see either the whole match or the majority of the match. I understand, you know, with editing down Piper's Pit, but it makes sense to lead into that tag team match. The 6-man is just a fantastic match. You guys should really go out of your way to watch that match if you can. And like I said, you know, during the review, the meat of this videotape is Roddy Piper. I mean, it really is. And they did a good job with it, you know, even without using the footage from WrestleMania 3, which they easily could have, but they didn't, and they did a good job with it. You had a really good tag match with the Can-Am Connection and Beefcake and Valentine. You had a fun match with Kamala and George Steele, the Midgets, you know, the tuxedo match. All in all, this is a very good videotape, and one I would definitely recommend you guys getting when you have the chance. If you're looking for this tape, I definitely would recommend you guys getting this tape. It is really worth your time and worth watching the best of the WWF Volume 11. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Retro Review. Stay tuned in the upcoming days to find out when you can vote for the next Retro Review. Remember, 3 videotapes get put in. You guys get to pick next Retro Review.